Apple is set to release Q3 2022 earnings coming up on Thursday, October 27th. So let's take a look at the daily chart to see how we can expect Apple to potentially trade into earnings, after earnings are released and more, and reflect on how it's behaved with recent earnings releases. So before we dig into the price action, time, and momentum, trading and investing can be extremely risky business. Therefore, it's your responsibility to evaluate any information, opinion, advice, or other content contained in this video. If you're new here, I'm Hema Reddy, and I use price, time, and momentum to help boost my trading and that of my trading tribe. So coming into the action here, there's a few key aspects of the chart to pay attention to. One, this is a daily chart of Apple, and every candlestick represents 1 day of price action. Down below is my RSI Power Zones momentum indicator. And I have plotted in these sort of aqua blue lines the past earnings release dates, with the next one coming up on October 27th in yellow. All right. So here's a couple tips when it comes to trading a stock into and around earnings. Number one, you should start to pay attention to how the stock responded to earnings releases on past dates. The thing is, just plotting the line and taking a look at how the chart acted is only one half the puzzle. You want to look at what the earnings release was. What was it? A miss? Was it, outperformance? Was it right on target? And then look at how the action unfolded, right? So if you're an Apple trader, that's something that you should dig into before the next release. The second point here is you want to look back over a significant period of time to be able to see if there's any sort of tendencies or patterns. So here I have over a year of past releases, right? So here we are in October 2022, and I have plotted back to July of 2021, so that we have a little bit more than, one or two instances and can start to see if there's a pattern here. So after July 26th of 2021 release, Apple traded lower for a couple days. After October of 2021, it traded higher, lower, and then took off from there. And then you can see that after that, in January of 2022, it shot up but maintained its new downtrend lower. And right now, we're in an interesting point in Apple because it has made this lower high back on August 17th, but now it's also made a higher low on October 13th. And that's in comparison to first the March 30th high and then the June 16th low. So that to me indicates that Apple's still in a long-term trading range, if you will, like between 130 and 180, and it's going to be a little time before it exits that. All right, now let's zoom into the more recent price action. So the third thing you want to look at is the directional movement of Apple into the earnings date, right? Not just what happened after earnings in the past, but the actual movement into it. And you can see here, these two orange lines, they're marking off what I call Gann drives. So if you want to learn more about Gann drives, how to determine them, how to help your trading with them, I get into that deep, full in depth in the Gann trading pattern system. And I also start to introduce that concept in the missing trend strategy. So looking at where we are now, there's a very interesting thing going on here. So I'm going to zoom in even closer and show you. Right now, there is a disconnect between price and momentum. Okay, today's bar has not closed. It's about 30 minutes till the close here on Wednesday, October 26th, but the bar has not closed just yet. And the way that this price high is forming, so price high is this high here, this high here, and this high here with the one in the middle sticking out. This and the way that momentum is behaving is out of sync with this beginning of this drive back on September 12th. And the way that it's setting up, it's actually suggesting more weakness ahead. So we need to see what happens when earnings are released to see if that gives a push. But just based on price action and momentum right now, I would be expecting a room for Apple to roll lower. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in some simple price action analysis in the form of a trend line. So here you can see that there's this general tilt up. This is not a beautiful, perfect trend line, but it's giving me guidelines as to the recovery rally we have in place since October 13th. And the upper boundary here, this dashed line, if Apple trades higher from current levels into earnings, through earnings, etc., that gives you a good guideline as to where it might stop day to day. So with all of this in mind, the big picture is that Apple is hinting, okay, not 100% confirmed yet, but hinting that it may want to roll over between what price and momentum are saying. that would fall in line with the GAN drives and room for a third drive lower. However, if into earnings or after earnings, Apple shoots higher, I think that the day-to-day movement would likely be limited to this upper parallel trend line. I make it dash because that way I know it's a parallel of another line, not its own original line. And you can plot these on your chart, so I'll give you the dates here. So you want to anchor the trend line from October 13th to October 21st. And then you want to project it from the October 13th high. Okay. And then the two peaks on the RSI, if today's peak confirms that you want to compare, is October 25th versus September 12th. That is leading into a more complex pattern that I teach in all of my RSI Power Zones education, but it's definitely evident and brewing. So again, it kind of gives the bears a little bit more of a favor here, a little bit more a tilt towards them resuming. On top of all of that, we're back at the end of that first drive, which is an old bottom, which is a very important type of trading signal in terms of the ways that you address it. There's multiple scenarios of how to trade an old bottom, and I get into that in the GAN trading pattern system. So all of this is still pointing to, Apple looks like it may want to roll over. We see the support with the trend line. We know earnings are coming up. So keep all that in mind and navigate accordingly. All right, remember to dig into your own analysis. Don't just take my word for it, okay? Compare what you're learning here to what you're finding with your winning tools and methods. Dive deeper into your education. I have a variety of education that comes through in free as well as resources that you can invest in. So we'll see how this Apple, which is the biggest component of the S&P 500, unfolds with its Q3 earnings release. Catch you on the inside. You can sign up at the link to get my hot, timely, actionable updates as soon as I publish right to your inbox.